Oh, sorry.
Hatch.
Okay, now go.
Joan Louise Hatch. And I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, because my father was in the Navy in World War II. He was on a medical ship, and he was the only physician on the medical ship. And my mother, who had had a miscarriage before me, went to Cleveland to live with her sister's family.
And what were their names again? Your father and your mother.
My father's name was John, and my mother's
Full names. John what?
John Sumner Hatch.
Oh, okay.
He was named, the Sumner comes from an uncle that he had. He was born in Heber, Utah. And my mother's name was Ruth Evelyn Masters. And I think she was born in a little town called Quincy, Florida, which is now a suburb of Tallahassee. But her mother left her father because he was a philanderer when he went on a trip, and she took the kids up to Ohio to live with some kin. And they almost starved to death because in those days, my grandmother, she was an extremely good seamstress, but she did fine work, but you don't get paid a lot for that. And so my parents met at Ohio State. My father, having gone to Harvard Medical School, did his internship and residency in Case Western Reserve Hospital in Cleveland. And my mother was working there as a nurse in the pediatric, in fact, she was head of the pediatric ward. And so in the beginning, my mother had more superiority than my father. So that they met there and fell in love. And how they met is very interesting because my mother had gotten married very young, about 16, to a very wealthy boy. Because my mother looked like Greta Garbo. She was very, very, very pretty.
That's where you get your good looks.
Hopefully. but like during the Depression, and his name was Dodd, and Dr. Dodd was head of the hospital, at Case Western Reserve. He was a physician also. And he really loved my mother because her son had been very spoiled. He's one of the few people that had a car in the Depression. And then my mother, I think, married him to get out of being poor.
How long were they married?
They were married only a year or two, not long. Dr. Dodd, though, really loved my mother. And so Dr. Dodd introduced my father to his ex-daughter-in-law.
Okay.
I mean, and so she actually, Dr. Dodd put her through nursing.
Wow.
This was in the Depression.
Yeah.
And so the Dodds were very wealthy. They had a home in Jackson Hole, aside from their normal home.
Yeah.
And then there's out of Michigan, there's an island, Mackinac, that they had a home there.
Oh, wow.
Plus, the home that they had actually was in, not Cleveland, it was in Columbus. That's where Ohio State is.
Okay.
That's where they basically met. So.
Why did they divorce? Your mom and this Dr. Dodd.
No, he wasn't a doctor.
Oh.
His son.
Oh,
Dr.
the
Dodd
son.
was his father.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And my mother divorced him because he was a playboy.
Oh.
And Dr. Dodd was so enamored, you know, and had so much respect for my mother, he put her through nursing school.
Oh, I see. That makes sense. Okay.
And then introduced her to my father.
Okay.
And so the Dodd, you know, my mother was close to the Dodds until they died.
Oh.
And so after my father got through with his residency, he wanted to come back to, his parents had moved from Heber because my grandfather was a doctor, and he was sent by the Mormon church to work in the first LDS hospital in Idaho Falls.
Do you remember your grandfather's name?
Yeah, his H. Ray Hatch. And my grandmother was Mary Richard, and I think they got married when they were both about 16.
Wow.
And my grandmother had 5 boys, no girls.
Wow.
And we were not close to the rest of the Hatches because my father had left the Mormon church and my mother was a Methodist. And in Idaho Falls at that time, you were either a Mormon or you were an infidel.
Yeah, okay.
So my mother first moving to Idaho was really extremely hard for her. But it took her a while. What helped her the most is after the war, the Atomic Energy Commission came into Idaho Falls, and with that it brought these very educated physicists and chemists, and my father he was the doctor in Idaho Falls for Phillips Petroleum.
Wow.
I mean, this is a side job.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay.
And I mean, when they first got to Idaho, my mother would go out with me, and they'd deliver in somebody's home.
Huh.
I mean, if you can imagine
Yeah.
that. So.
And didn't your dad have 5 siblings, 5 brothers, and they were all doctors? Or is that someone else?
Let's see. Bill, my father, Joe, Harvey, and Steve. You know, there were 5 of them together.
Yeah.
4 of them were doctors.
Okay.
I mean, Grandma, and I have a picture there. Grandma in her Chanel suit, holding a fish. I mean, and Grandma never went to school, after 16, and I think she felt it was really hard for her because she had a sister who became a physician and worked in the Ute Reservation.
Oh,
she
wow.
was a physician that would ride a horse.
Oh my goodness.
in the Ute, taking care of the Utes.
Yeah.
But
this is your grandmother's sister?
Yeah.
Wow.
But my grandma, because she was very, I mean, she truly was like a Jewish grandmother. You wouldn't get a cookie unless you spelled at least 5 words right.
She loved education.
Oh yeah, she did. And there's a story, whether it's true or not, I think it is true, that the other boys weren't particularly that nice, and so when her husband died, she was living alone, and they decided, not my father, but they decided, well, we need to put Grandma in a home.
Oh.
and because she's not doing very well. Well, Grandma went down and took a psychology test because she'd studied all her life, and she had passing grades. She took the paper home and handed it all out to her sons and said, "Now you do it."
Look, I can pass this. I'm not ready for the nursing home.
Well, she wasn't. I mean, she really, truly had a very big appreciation for learning. And there was only one son, who was the oldest, who really wanted, he liked being a farmer.
Do you remember his name?
Yeah, it's Bill William. Oh. And Grandma took pity on him because all the rest of the boys went to medical school. And so she had him go back to Utah State University and get a master's in agriculture.
Oh. And
he probably had the best life of any of them because he became an attaché, agricultural attaché. Yeah. He lived in the Philippines, he lived in Ireland, and he lived in Tehran.
Oh my goodness.
So he went all over the world.
This is your uncle
Bill. He was thanks to Grandma that decided he had to go to school, even if he was just going to be a farmer.
So he didn't feel bad that he wasn't a doctor, because it sounds like he had a really great life.
He didn't want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
But what he did do, though, is he probably did a lot of good, because he and the Muslims really, for the most part, really respect the Mormons, because they don't smoke, they don't drink. You can have all the wives you want, but
not true.
No,
at one point, but you're right. The standards are very similar. My son has a lot of Muslim friends. In fact, one day he said to me, "Mom, can I be LDS and Muslim?" I said, "Well, you just decide which one you want to be," but they're very similar. And
no, I think they're similar because they're basically two religions that are paternity.
Very
the man,
family oriented.
Yeah,
and,
the man is the man is the head of it, and in the Muslim culture, the man is the head of it.
Yeah,
the same thing.
Yeah. They're good people.
But when my cousins came back from Tehran, I mean, they lived like royalty. They had servants and that. And when they had to do their own laundry and clean up, they almost had a fit.
So tell me about your, why they named you Joan.
I was named Joan during the war because my father's name was John.
Okay.
And Joan is the female.
Oh, okay, nice.
Joan and John, both Hebrew names.
Oh, okay.
And biblical names. Maybe
Yeah.
not, and so I was named after my father.
Nice. Tell me about your neighborhood that you grew up in.
Well, it was really different. When my father got through with the war, they resettled in Idaho Falls. And in talking with my cousin, this one that I had become acquainted with, who actually called me up and said she knew when my birthday was and she wanted to take me out.
Is Kathy?
Kathy, yeah.
Oh, Kathy.
Fotheringham.
Fotheringham, oh, okay.
And she, we were excluded because we weren't Mormon.
Like in school or in your neighborhood?
Well, in the family.
Oh, in the family. Oh.
Yeah, my grandma wasn't that way, but my grandfather, Kathy asked me once, and she has a non-identical twin brother.
Oh.
They're twins, but non-identical. And she asked me why I was never Mormon. And I said, because of Grandpa.
Oh.
And she said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, he was a very nasty human being.
Aww.
He beat his kids and he beat his wife, but by God, when the church authorities came around, he was groveling.
He put his best face forward, huh?
and I mean, that was him.
Yeah.
But he certainly didn't live his religion. He was a hypocrite.
Hopefully
but
he's changed on the other side. He's rolling over in the grave. Sorry, Grandpa. We love you.
Well, I don't know if I love him because he did not really like women.
Oh.
You know, he thought he thought women didn't really have a brain. You know, it's sort of that kind of attitude.
Huh.
But Kathy said to me after I told her about Grandpa, she said, Mike, who's her brother, said, who's not a Mormon, said, Mike said the same thing.
Oh.
The reason, you know, and you know, because in Idaho, you're either, you know, the Mormon or you were whatever they called you, you know, the infidel or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my father, the reason my father left the Mormon church was they pushed him and pushed him and pushed him. They wanted him to go on a mission.
Oh.
And so he graduated from high school around 16, and he was supposed to be student body president, but so he was only about 17 and a half.
Wow.
And he went on a mission to Germany. And
so he did go then. I mean,
he went
him and he went.
That's what happened was when he went to the mission in Germany, it was the rise of Hitler.
Oh my goodness.
And so he saw what was happening. And that when you're that age, you know, and you see,
that would have been a terrifying place to go. When was this?
Well,
the
yeah,
30s,
it was
40s,
the shirt.
50s.
No, it was well.
If he was about 15 or something.
No, he was about 16, 17.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah, it was probably in the early 30s.
Oh, okay. So this is before all Hitler really took hold.
Yeah, well, that's when
gearing up to it, you know. Would
yeah,
be
yeah, it was before the war. But
Okay.
the other thing is that there was the start of the persecution of the Jews.
Oh.
And he had a existential crisis. And he said, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
These people don't need religion. They need a stable economy.
Yeah.
You know, and that. So he left his mission. My grandfather was so furious he wouldn't speak to him and banned him from coming back to Idaho.
Oh my goodness.
So my father hung out at the University of Chicago and then went to Harvard Medical School.
Oh, okay.
But he was the only one that paid my grandfather back for his education.
Wow.
But we were the renegade Hatch family. But Kathy and I had always been. She's 2 years older than me.
Oh.
But and she's like you. You know, if I was going to pick someone, you know, if I by who I admired, it's like you and Kathy. I mean, she married a really neat guy, and he was very Mormon. He said, Kathy said, I really love you, but I want to be a Mormon.
Yeah.
And so she got back into the church. I mean, she never left it.
Yeah, yeah.
And Michael became gay.
Okay.
And he lives in the San Francisco area.
Nice.
But I got onto a tangent. But anyway, it was.
Okay,
so I grew up in Idaho Falls, and which wasn't a very big town.
Yeah.
And at the time when my mother first went there, it was extremely divided. And my mother was an Eastern Star, you know, because she was into the Protestant religion, and one of the ladies said, well, we haven't been able to vote to get you in until some of the members go out of town because they hate the Mormons.
Oh,
my mother said, I don't want to be part of your organization.
Oh, that's so sad that there was such that division and so much angst between the two.
But the interesting thing was, by the time I came along, I was, I'm not laughing. Yeah, I'm laughing because it's so ironic. I was the student body chaplain.
For the Protestant?
No,
or what
I was the student body chaplain, and I said it was a political appointment because both sides. I had one side, I had the Mormons, and I had the Protestants on the other side.
You were trying to keep the peace, the referee.
Well, but the thing is, I can't believe I got in front of a student assembly and said, let us pray.
Oh boy. Wow.
Yeah.
So what was your job as the chaplain? Like, what more did you have to do?
Well, I really do think it was a political appointment. But the thing was, I didn't have a lot to do. I think it was pretty much, I was on, like they had that kind of inner circle with student body president and that. And so we were at that time students that could talk to the teachers and explain things that might be helpful, and they'd listen.
Have a mediator.
Yeah,
type.
yeah. So.
At what age were you doing that?
What?
Senior year or sophomore? Or
I was. It was my senior year.
Oh, okay.
And.
Wow. What other things were you in your senior year? I mean, or
well, I was class secretary my sophomore year, and then after I graduated from high school, I was voted to be in the Miss Idaho Falls pageant.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Oh my.
When I think about that, I don't ever tell people that.
Wow. Well, you're gorgeous and talented. What did you do it?
I did it, but the thing is, and I love music and I love singing, but the teacher I had, his brother was head of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Oh.
And so, by God, if I would have sung the blues or something, no. Do you know how well opera goes over in Idaho Falls? I was singing from Carmen.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it was like, I got about halfway through. I thought, what in the hell am I doing?
So you sang for your talent.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And did you win?
Oh, no. I think this one lady, young woman, made clothes.
Oh.
I mean,
I sang talent.
Opera. I mean, if I had to wipe something from my slate, it would be that.
Oh dear! And now it's going on this public place where everyone can hear it. Your family.
Well, it's interesting.
It's okay.
Because in those days, you had to have a talent, and then you had to be in the swimsuit contest.
How'd you feel about that? What were the swimsuits like?
That was a little hard.
What were the swimsuits like? Were they were they long swimsuits, or were they getting shorter at the time?
Idaho Falls.
Yeah, down to the ankles.
Come around to here.
Down to the knees.
So anyway, but I have a couple regrets because I really wanted to be an actress. I was pretty serious about that, and I had some talent in that area, and I could dance. I mean, I love this. My neighbor, Rhoda, I won't give her last name. She was on the Olympic committee when the Olympics came to Utah, 2002. Wasn't it
2001? I think.
Huh?
Can't remember.
It was 2001,
Can't
2002.
remember. Yeah, something like that.
And she said, you know, the developers just love the Mormons. I mean, she was a Jack Mormon. Her husband was a staunch Presbyterian. And he was, I really had the biggest crush on him. He was the sort of the Southern gentleman. He was a chef, and he's the one I said could go, you know, when he saved the Cocker Spaniel, that he was now qualified for the celestial kingdom after giving it mouth to mouth.
Oh my goodness.
And they used to ask Uppy, his name was Upton, to come do some of their dinners at the Federal Heights Ward, you know, because I just lived up around the corner from that, in that area. And he said, I'm more than willing to come and put on, you know, a feast for you, but I have a few things that you have to agree on. Number one, I'm a smoker, so I'm going to go outside and smoke my cigarettes.
Yeah.
And he said, and please don't call me brother.
That makes sense. That's funny.
What a time when I think about it. I love that place. I never should. That house now is probably worth a couple million.
Now, are you talking about the one
in Federal Heights?
In Federal Heights. Oh, okay, yeah.
I'd
like to talk to you some more about the place in Idaho Falls. Is that where they've made it into apartments or like a restaurant and a spa? Is that?
Oh, that's my home.
Oh yeah, that's your home.
In fact, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, what did I say? It's a sort of a national spa, you know. I mean, people come from Jackson Hole to go there.
I can't remember what it's called now, but I'll look it up for the next video.
El Aviv or something. Aliv or something like. But anyway, they added like 3 or 4 different little houses in the back. My father put in a tennis court, but they took that out, but they had a pickleball court, and they had a swimming pool.
Wow.
They added that on, and then they had these houses. People, you know, came from different areas and wanted to stay the night, you know.
Yeah.
And so
that'd be fun to go up there and see.
I'm gonna go this year.
That would be
I'm gonna say goodbye to that part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to stay in one of those little houses, but my sister-in-law doesn't really want to do it, and I just don't want to do it by myself.
Yeah.
And so, but I am going to go up, and I'm going to call him first, because I would like to go up and tell you like some of the stories.
Oh, it'd be so great. It'd be so fun. Just take a day trip and go up there. We'll do it.
Well, I'm going to stay
turn this
overnight.
off.